Thank you so much for joining us. Time for our 7:30 news bulletin here on Luntha television. My name is Brian Manza. Our top stories. New aid to the church in need report says persecution of Christians is still rising. Faith leaders agree to raise more awareness on COVID-19 vaccine uptake. Government sets aside 820 million kwacha for rehabilitation of 5 rice irrigation schemes in Karonga. And in other news, Uganda to send 1,000 troops to regional force against M23 in DRC. We have these and many other stories. Stay there. The Aid to the Church in Need, ACN, UK, for its annual Red Week has said over the past 2 years, oppression or persecution of Christians has increased in 75% of the countries surveyed. The Pontifical Foundation, ACN, is holding its annual International Red Week campaign launched on November 16th with official release in London of the persecuted and forgotten. Report on Christians oppressed for their faith in 2020, a study that supplements the annual Religious Freedom Report of the international charity. One of its key findings shows that in 75% of the 24 countries surveyed, the persecution of Christians has further increased in the past 2 years. We have a Vatican News report read by Tandiwe Nzumara.
Particular concern is the plight of Christians in the Middle East, where in several countries once flourishing communities risk disappearing as a result of mass migration due to various reasons, ranging from Islamic fundamentalism to discrimination, wars, and economic woes. The Christian exodus from Syria and Iraq has been even more dramatic, especially during the Islamic State's Daesh insurgency in 2014 to 2017. As the crippling economic crisis grinds on in Lebanon, amid political and institutional instability, many Christians continue to leave this country too. Regarding countries in the other parts of the world, the study further calls attention to the sharp rise in terrorist violence from non-state militants and in particular in Nigeria, where the Islamist terrorist group Boko Haram continues to sow terror and more than 7,600 Nigerian Christians were reportedly murdered between January 2021 and June 2022. In Asia, persecution recorded its peak in North Korea, where religious belief and practice has been systematically repressed by the Kim regime for decades. Also, religious nationalism is still causing increasing violence against Christians in other Asian nations like India and Sri Lanka. In light of this dramatic situation, the Pontifical Foundation is, among other things, urging the faithful to join in prayer on Wednesday this week and asking parishes to illuminate their churches in a silent protest against the scourge of persecution.
Now, faith leaders in the country have been urged to raise more awareness on the importance of taking COVID-19 vaccines among their followers. Speaking during the roundtable discussion organized by different organizations to lobby for faith leaders' support to the cause, Minister of Health Kombeze Kandochiponda said there are still no drugs for the disease, hence a need for the country to increase vaccine uptake to reduce impact of the disease, and as such, faith leaders who are more close to the most communities are key to disseminate such information. Meanwhile, the faith leaders have pledged to support the ministry in order to save more lives. Right Reverend Montford Stima, Bishop of Mangochi Diocese, who is also the Episcopal Conference of Malawi ECM Vice President, attended the discussion and he explains.
When we get back home, the first thing is to call for a meeting of all the faith leaders and make a decision and agree as a body to speak with one voice. And the voice is as simple as giving the message to our faithfuls, to give the message to our followers, and perhaps even putting in writing so that people hear the same message that we would like to deliver to our people. I think if we do that, for me, I'm sure and I'm certain that this uptake which is being talked about is going to be improved.
Right Reverend John Ryan, who heads the Catholic Diocese of Mzuzu, has encouraged members of the Legion of Mary to continue praying for the Church and increase their interest in charitable work. Bishop Ryan was speaking on Sunday as the Legion of Mary was closing the celebration of the centenary of their existence in the world, a celebration which also helped the group to rekindle their charism of prayer and services in the Catholic Church. He said, as Jesus Christ is the King of all creatures, they too should take care of his creation, especially the environment. This is part of what he had to say.
Mary plays a special part in our history of salvation. And the Legion of Mary, they emphasize the role that Mary plays. And it's only right that we acknowledge the greatness of Mary in agreeing to become the mother of our Lord and Saviour.
And Father Thomas Gondwe, who is the chaplain of the Legion of Mary, encouraged the members of Mzuzu Diocese and in Malawi at large to keep the fire of prayer burning and to live on what they have promised. He explains.
The message to the Legion of Mary members is that they should continue praying as it is said and believed that their weapon is the rosary, and the rosary is a powerful prayer, so they have got to continue praying. And today in the closing mass, His Lordship Bishop John Ryan stressed also the importance of taking care of the environment, and for this reason they have pledged that each member of the Legion of Mary will plant at least a tree in their homes.
In Parliament today, Member of Parliament from Zimba North, Yeremia Chihana, brought a document to validate his allegation on government's embezzlement of 30 billion kwacha for this year's Affordable Input Program, AIP. Chihana, who submitted the document to office of the Speaker, claims that the evidence he brought justifies the state of this year's AIP program. On this last week, an audio clip in which Chihana claimed to have evidence that 30 billion kwacha meant for Affordable Imports Program was stolen, was played in Parliament, which led to the Speaker of Parliament, Catherine Gotanihara, ordering him to provide evidence for the claims of risk facing disciplinary action. Jacqueline Saidi reports.
The Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Catherine Gotanihara, ordered Mzimba North legislator Yeremia Chihana to provide evidence or risk disciplinary action last week following his allegation that 30 billion kwacha meant for this year's Affordable Inputs program was stolen. The order came as Parliament was on Thursday afternoon asked to replay an audio clip in which Jehana in the morning claimed that he had evidence on the alleged stolen money meant for AIP. In today's deliberations, after main opposition Democratic Progressive Party Choro Central Legislator Ben Piri asked for guidance on whether it was an order for Jehana to still be in the chamber when he was ordered to produce evidence on the claims, the Mzimba North legislator Jeremiah Jehana brought out a document in which he said holds evidence for the stolen 30 billion kwacha meant for this year's Affordable Imports program. In an interview, Jehana said he believes that the funds were misappropriated, looking at how the transactions were made, saying it looked like the funds were being laundered.
I have just submitted the transactions which to me were suspicious, and the suspicions came because these transmissions were taking place at Citibank in New York, Chase Bank in the US, Chase Bank in US, and then in Turkey. So it looked like it was money laundering moving across the globe, and that's why I became suspicious of the transaction of the 30 billion. These transactions started from way back in June. And why I mentioned that the money is missing or misappropriated, it is according to those transfers which were taking place to companies which to me were not necessarily fertilizer companies. There are two foodstuffs companies, and there are also in another company which is called Dover, the beneficiary is Dover or Bova something food company in US, and the Chase Bank. And then
Meanwhile, Jehana has claimed that the document submitted has the evidence on the matter. He has indicated that a huge amount of money was dubiously transferred from Malawi to foreign food companies' accounts, including the United Kingdom's firm Barkat Foods Limited, which is said to have duped government 750 million kwacha meant to supply fertilizer under the Affordable Inputs program. Jehana, who presented his evidence to the Speaker's office, added that he had to bring evidence through the August House as the issue started in the same house. For Luntha Television News, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
In news just coming in, UTM Publicity Secretary Frank Tumpali Mwenifumbo has resigned from his position and party membership. In his letter of his resignation addressed to Party Secretary General, Mwenifumbo says he has resigned in order to live a private life and concentrate on his farming business at his village. Mwenifumbo further says he had already explained his decision to the party president, Saul Chilema, last month, and he accepted. Well, moving on, as one way of improving tourism sector in the country, Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Culture has said it plans to introduce cable cars on Mulanje Mountain with an aim of improving the tourism industry and boost the country's economy. Speaking with television, a spokesperson in the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Culture, Simon Mvundula, said the project is one of the 10 prioritized projects that the ministry wants to finalize in the next few years. Hope Gambetta has more in this report.
According to the spokesperson in the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Culture, Simon Mvundula, the cable cars will help to attract both local and international tourists. He also said the project will help in job creation, forest generation, and beautifying Mulanje Mountain, realizing that it is a tourist attraction center. He added that Malawi has a lot of tourist destinations, but what is needed is the value addition.
This is an investment that is targeting to ensure that it contributes a lot towards the sector. We have had for a long time complained about the infrastructure or value addition to what we already have. Here we have the Mulanje Mountain, which is a huge product in itself. All we are trying to do is to add value to that, where we are trying to bring in supporting infrastructure like lodging, shopping places, and all those amenities that will increase or improve the value of Mulanje Mountain. already that you see that we are bound now to attract not only local but also international.
Further, Mvundula said the project will not only focus on cable cars but also lodging on the bottom and top of Mulanje Mountain. Cable car is a transport system, typically one traveling up and down a mountain, in which cabins are suspended on a continuous moving cable driven by a motor at one end of the route. For Luntha Television News, this is Hope Kambeda.
Remember that you are watching our 7:30 news bulletin here on Luntha Television, and you are with me, Bernard Mansa. Our top stories before we proceed. New aid to the church in need report says persecution of Christians is still rising. Faith leaders agree to raise more awareness on COVID-19 vaccine uptake. Government sets aside 820 million kwacha for rehabilitation of 5 rice irrigation schemes in Karonga. And in other news, Uganda to send 1,000 troops to regional force against M23 in DRC. Moving on, government has set aside 820 million kwacha to be used for the rehabilitation of 5 dilapidated irrigation rice schemes in Karonga district, which have not been functioning well since 2020. The development will help rice producers to increase their production, realizing that at least 300 hectares of land that is affected has contributed greatly to the loss in bulk production. According to the chairperson for Wuvwi Rice Irrigation Scheme, Raymond Msisia, they have already established a steady market in South Africa where there is a high demand for Kilombero rice variety, looking at the 1,200 metric tons of rice per year. We have a report by Alinafe Piri.
The president for the irrigation scheme, Raymond Msisia, said they have talked to the chief irrigation officer to liaise with the contractor to work on the dilapidated irrigation schemes swiftly, looking at the rainy season which might affect the restoration works. According to Msisia, they have already identified a market in South Africa, hence it is crucial for them to have their irrigation schemes worked on fast in order to realize their goal.
As now we are producing Kilombero rice, which is in high demand. We have got a good market in South Africa, which needs our product from here, just a little from Wuvwi. So with that challenge of headworks, we are in great fear that how were we going to produce if the headworks had been washed away.
In his remarks, Chief Irrigation Officer for Karonga Agricultural Development Division, ADD, John Vutula, said they have taken the farmers' concerns on board and the contractors, well aware of the rainy season, hence will expedite the works in order to avoid interruptions during the restoration works when rains come.
Assuming the farmers they were getting around, let's say, in Wuvwi, since about 305 hectares. So because of the damages which took place in 2019, they might not be able to cover all the 355 hectares because of those damages. But after we have done the rehabilitation, they'll be able to irrigate all the whole 305.
Among other areas, water intakes and bridges are supposed to be restored in these schemes. Irrigation schemes of Hara, Ukanga, Mpinga, Chunanga, and those who have already found a market in South Africa are the ones to be restored. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Alinafe Piri.
Minister of Water and Sanitation Abida Mia has asked the private sector to emulate what World Vision is doing in ensuring that people from hard-to-reach areas have the chance of accessing clean water. The minister said there is nothing more essential to life on earth than water, and it is sad to note that people across Malawi are struggling to access quality water. We have more on this report by King Major Kamwindo.
Her remarks when she commissioned the solar-powered water system, besides improved latrines that World Vision Malawi has constructed at the Greater Primary School in Chau District. Mia said for Malawi to successfully contain the outbreak of cholera that is spreading across the country, there is need for all stakeholders to put in more efforts. The minister then said what World Vision is doing is in direct support to President Lazarus Chakwila's efforts towards attaining Sustainable Development Goal number 6 on good health and access to clean water.
With the issues that we are facing with cholera and other waterborne diseases, where people have to go to the rivers to get water, and obviously they had boreholes here, but it's very difficult. They were really struggling. So thank you to World Vision. We appreciate them. They're doing a fantastic job. Within Nchewu, they've done huge things, and around the country as well. They've serviced 260,000 with regards to sanitation, and another that's 250 toilets, and they've also done 93,000 with regards to boreholes. They've done 113 new boreholes in 2021. That we do not take for granted. We appreciate them, and we are so happy to have them as our partner.
In his speech, World Vision Water and Sanitation Hygiene WASH Technical Program Manager Isaiah Odiambo said for Malawi to achieve basic water and sanitation services for all by 2030, the private sector must work together to reach more people with more access to clean water.
We wish to appeal for the other partners so that we join hands to be able to achieve universal wash coverage in Malawi. So I'm happy to say that currently we are reviewing a sanitation policy which all the partners are participating, but it is not yet finalized. Water Work Act is also being reviewed, which will open up the platform for public-private partnership. We need more players in order to reduce the cases of inadequate access to wash services in Malawi.
According to records, World Vision has managed to drill 130 boreholes, mechanized 30 boreholes, and installed 313 taps between 2021 and 2022 that has benefited 93,000 people from 14 districts in the country. For Luntha News in Nchewu, I am King Major Kamwindo.
Agricultural expert Tamani Nkonomvula has said the settlement to reopen Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation (ADMA) has come to Malawi. Minister of Agriculture Sam Kawale's statement in Parliament yesterday, which indicated that ADMAC is expected to reopen on 1st December this year. In an interview with Luntha television, Mvula said there were no explanations from government as regards to an extent to which issues of closure have been addressed. Charity Langa reports.
The Ministry of Agriculture suspended Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation's ADMAC operations in August this year. The time government was suspending all operations at ADMAC, the Ministry of Agriculture said this was done due to prolonged conflicts between ADMAC Board of Directors and management, abuse of company finances, and theft by employees. Minister of Agriculture Sam Kawale told Parliament yesterday that ADMAC is expected to reopen on 1st December 2022. According to agriculture expert Tamani Nkonomvula, the Ministry of Agriculture instituted an investigation that led to a number of issues being annexed of what was happening in ADMAC, and there are no details that are coming from the government as regard to an extent to which the issues that led to the closure of ADMAC have been addressed.
Say that the statement to reopen ADMAC has come as a surprise because there weren't any explanation from government as regards the extent to which the issues that led to the closure of ADMAC have been addressed. But all in all, I think it happened around and doing its operations. It's good for the agriculture sector that it is the most reliable market, both for the consumers but also for the farmers.
ADMAC was formed in Malawi in 1971 as a government-owned corporation or parastatal to promote the Malawian economy by increasing the volume and corridor of its agricultural exports to develop new foreign markets for the consumption of Malawian agricultural produce and to support Malawi's farmers. For Luntha Television News in Lilongwe, this is Charity Chilanga reporting.
Now, in sports news from the World Cup, Denmark were held to draw by Tunisia in their World Cup opener in a raucous atmosphere at the Education City Stadium in Amman. Many Premier League regulars, the match fancied dance were given a time. Christian Eriksen played for Denmark for the first time, having suffered a cardiac arrest in their opening game of Euro 2020 last summer. Both sides had goals ruled out for offside, while Denmark's Andreas Cornelius somehow missed from a yard. In other matches, Saudi Arabia produced an air upset as they came from a goal down to beat Argentina 1. Injury hit France, will later on be taking on Australia. Now, another developing sports story, Cristiano Ronaldo is to leave Manchester United by mutual agreement with a club's statement says the club has thanked his across 2 spells at Old Trafford, scoring 145 goals in 346 appearances, and wishes him and his family well for the future. The statement further says everyone at Manchester United remains focused on continuing the team's progress under Erik ten Hag and working together to deliver success on the pitch. Now, in news from said on Monday that it will send 1,000 troops to neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, by the end of this month to join a regional force mandated to help end decades of instability. The 7 countries of the East African Community, EAC, which DRC joined this year, agreed in April to set up a force to fight militia groups in its east. Uganda will be the 3rd country to deploy troops after contingents from Kenya and Burundi have arrived in the area, but their involvement has been opposed by some activist groups and officials because of Uganda's role in the conflict in DRC. Already hosts hundreds of Ugandan troops deployed nearly a year ago under a separate bilateral arrangement to help hunt down the ISIL allied group, Allied Democratic Forces, ADF. Well, with that story, we have come to the end of our 7:30 news bulletin here on Luntha Television. But before we go, a recap of our main stories. New aid to the church need report says persecution of Christians is still rising. Faith leaders agree to raise more awareness on COVID-19 vaccine uptake. Government sets aside $100 for rehabilitation of 5 rice irrigation schemes in Karonga. And in other news, Uganda to send 1,000 troops to regional force against M23 in DRC. You were with me, Brent Manza, and on behalf of the entire newsroom,